This is our last episode of the I'll Watch It Later podcast, Spooktaular.
Oh, I threw my hip out.
Oh my goodness, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Aaron, and joined as always by my bestest friend Jordan.
Hi, everybody.
And my bestest friend and brother-in-law and producer Scott.
Hello.
And this is our final episode of the Halloween Spooktaular.
Forever.
Actually, it's not. We still have one more. But that, we're talking our, so how this is going to work, I'm inside my own head. How this is going to work is you're going to get Scott's movies today, and then next week you're going to get our top 5 horror movies. And we've been kind of discussing the show, and we're going to not change formats because that would be a dumb thing to say, but we're going to keep giving you guys the same content for the next, so all of November will be like mixed bag, like kind of what we were doing before October. Then December, we're going to move into holiday films. And if you have any recommendations, please hit us up on I'llWatchItLaterPod.com. And follow us on our social medias. Instagram is I'll Watch It Later Pod. Twitter, I'll Watch It Later Pod. And just hit us up there if you have any recommendations for Christmas films. And then starting in the year 2022, we will be doing theme months every month. And we'll get all into that a little bit later. I just kind of wanted to let you guys know how we're going moving forward. So next week when you're like, wait a minute, this should be a snack show. It's a top 5 show. Technically, we're still in October. You're going to get your snack show November 6th, and that's how we're going to springboard off into November. Or just add a sound effect there.
I am the sound effects.
I like that one.
I'm like the guy from Police Academy. I'm just going to give you all the sound effects.
But they're terrible. What was that? A robot?
Yes. See? You get it. You get it now.
Oh, and I also want to apologize because my energy was not here last week. I was exhausted. We had just got out of the movie, and work is killing us. Because unlike Joe Rogan and everybody else, we can't pay the bills with this. So this is just for fun stuff we want to do. Yeah, so as always, this is I'll Watch It Later podcast, the show where we watch movies we haven't seen, and then we talk about them. How are you today, Jordan?
I'm good.
You looked annoyed as hell. I was kidding.
It's hilarious. The intros are getting longer.
That's how everybody looks when Aaron's talking.
It's just banter. I'm just bantering. I'm just letting people know at the top of the show how.
No, it's fine. You're awake. You did a lot of the cocaine before the show.
Yep.
I had Chick-fil-A.
You're wide awake, so you know, that's all we can ask for.
I feel great.
That's what us wealthy podcasters do.
Right.
We just do blow before the show.
Lines of blow.
No.
You guys want to talk about a movie? Oh, yeah, let's talk about...
We're doing this earlier in the day, and I just went to Trader Joe's and Chick-fil-A, and I feel great, and I'm just ready to talk about some movies.
Great
and then,
Trader Joe's, by the way.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I found some cranberry orange bars there. I'm going to eat them.
I got pumpkin butter last night and pumpkin brioche bread that I made French toast with this morning.
That is insane because Kim literally picked it up. Kim is my wife. She literally picked it up to do the exact same thing. You guys should...
I mean, she does text me when you're not around.
Oh, that's on the podcast.
Welcome to I'll Eat It Later.
I'll Eat It Later, the podcast where your
best
later.
Friend and your wife divorced.
Talk about food. You're one of 2 passions without you. All right, guys. So Scott, you picked a movie for us, and then the random generizer picked a movie for us, and I'm excited to talk about both of these films, especially the first one. So what did you bring to the table?
I brought from 1985 when 2 bumbling employees at a medical supply warehouse accidentally release a deadly gas in the air. The vapors cause the dead to rise again as zombies. Directed by Dan O'Bannon, we have The Return of the Living Dead.
In the dark of the night, something strange is going on.
Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Sure.
They ship those bodies east. Well, say hello.
The dead have risen from the grave.
Mister, there's 100 of those things out there.
How many did you say?
100?
And now the question is, how do we get them back into the ground?
Bert, Frank, we have a little problem. 4 left, 10 right.
It's all over everything!
Stupid asshole!
Watch your tongue, boy, if you like this job!
Like this job!
Brain!
Medical science is baffled.
And it's a puzzle, because technically, you're not alive.
Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
Yeah, man. I just want to give you a lot of crap because you took a victory lap where we were like talking about this, like, oh my god, guys, can you believe the movie I picked? It's so
here's
good.
I didn't, but see, I don't understand because I don't get the internet hype behind it because I don't read into that stuff. I picked this movie solely on I was like scrolling through horror flicks. And I saw this, and I was like, oh, man, I remember the cover of this in the video store. And I've always wanted to watch it, and I've never seen it.
Right.
So you know all that stuff because Aaron likes to dive into Reddit and, like, argue with 90-year-old women.
Dude, you're not even wrong.
Reddit,
I love to argue on Reddit.
Reddit literally is the last social media he's allowed on anyway.
I think
it's
so.
probably why Reddit is the biggest thing in his life.
And then I posted about Inglourious Basterds Steelbook, and some guy, like, dressed me down about it, and I enraged myself and deleted all my Reddit stuff, and then I had to go back and be like, calm down, it's just
So Simpleton over here I did not know the whole lore behind this movie. I mean, there's so many 80s horror flicks that I consider cult classics. I just hadn't seen this one, and I was like, this looks like a cool one, man. I need a zombie flick.
To be fair, none of us had, and I know we call ourselves cinephiles, and I felt almost stupid watching this because I was like, why have I never seen this? It is insane. It is fun. It is rewatchable. It's quotable. From the moment it started to the credits rolled, I enjoyed every second of this film.
Yeah, it literally starts crazy and ends fucking bonkers.
Just as crazy.
And I believe it was last week, or maybe even the week before, when I said that I'd seen parts of this movie. No, I lied. Apparently I'd never seen any of this movie. I've seen part 2.
Oh, okay.
And I remember the beginning of part 2 where the two kids find one of the canisters and they fell off the back of a truck and stuff like that. So for me, I was conflating the two. I had never seen anything of this movie. I've seen little bits and pieces on best of lists or Into the Darkness, that 80s horror podcast, documentary. But
podcast
I
documentary.
had never seen anything from this movie, and I'm not gonna lie, I fucking loved every second of it.
I don't even care that we say that at the top of the show. This is a ton of fun. But if you're out there and you're cinephiles like us and you have seen this, you already fucking know that. So
they're like, you guys are stupid.
Yeah, I feel this is more about how dumb I feel about not seeing this film.
But you're talking about a movie from the 80s. I mean,
I was
now
a kid
this
in
is
the 80s.
This
I should
is
have seen this. In
right,
the
but
90s.
you weren't allowed to watch anything in the 80s.
Yeah, this is
True.
kind of my wheelhouse time frame. Kind of Jordan's time frame.
The old people.
But we weren't probably watching too many horror flicks like in the early 80s. I mean, we did. You watch the popular ones, but these are what I kind of consider, these are the cult classics that we didn't watch.
Well, these are ones that maybe, like I said with part 2, where you kind of catch little bits and pieces,
Right.
kind of sneaking a peek, or you've gotten out of bed and you're like watching what your parents had watched and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would have never probably watched this back in the 80s, and I am upset that I worked at 2 different video stores and had never picked this up. I'm with Scott. I've seen the cover art a billion times. Mm-hmm. It's pretty iconic as far as zombie movies, and again, it was a blind spot for me, and I'm very, very happy I watched it.
I think my biggest thing about this, and maybe I've always been this way, the internet was not a new thing, is when somebody badgers me or punches me over the head with a film and they're like, you have to see this, it makes me not want to see the movie, because kind of like what I'm doing with you guys right now with Squid Game.
Never heard of it.
But it tends to, like, I'm like, okay, you're hyping this up so much that the only thing is I'm going to be disappointed. And until you remove yourself from that and then sit down and watch something like this, I think that is where it's conflated. I'm not saying that if I would have watched it back when I was working at Hollywood Video, I wouldn't have loved it. But I think because I was so far removed, and anytime I see a post about this online, every July 3rd, somebody posts and I didn't even know where that came from. I honestly thought it came from the Day of the Dead. I thought that was what that George A. Romero film.
Right.
I thought that's what that was from. I had no clue it was from this. So the second that pops up, I was like, meme, like that's where that's from.
Well, you got to think that even in little things like the Rucking Fountain T-shirts that we get,
right?
People have been going nuts.
Please sponsor
over
us, Rucking Fountain.
Right? Please give us money. I don't care if you just give me a T-shirt.
Yeah, just T-shirts. I'll take T-shirts.
Give me a T-shirt and
Smalls.
I'll do it extra large. Smalls. We'll just hang them.
Yeah.
But their biggest shirt lately has been that Tarman shirt.
Yeah.
That, is iconic as far as...
My absolute favorite zombie in the entire film.
Great.
When he's just coming around brains, I was like, I want him tattooed on my body. Like, he's so fucking awesome.
I've actually looked up tattoos of him. People get tattoos, and it looks so cool. I'm like, damn it.
Well, and this is looking at some of the, like, past history on it, is like kind of diving deeper into the movie. This was the first movie that started the whole brains trope.
Right.
Cricket?
I love that. No,
I went to you.
No, well, so for me, it was kind of cool to see that, okay, this is a zombie movie that exists in a world that acknowledges that George Romero made a zombie movie.
I like that.
And it was like, hey, you remember Night of the Living Dead, all these things, but then they're like, no, these things actually exist. He made that movie, and the government told him to keep your mouth shut about what really happened. So it was more like, so his movie was a documentary and not an actual just a movie.
Right.
And it kind of set this little weird world.
It was very Scream
for me. Yes, it was very meta.
They're using the past movies as being aware of what's going on.
Right.
Because we get, like, in the funniest, I think one of the funniest scenes is the opening scene after they wake up from the toxic fumes.
Yes.
And they get the body that's hanging in the cooler, the cadaver comes, they let him out and he comes to life, and they drive a pickaxe right into his head because they're like, well, we saw this in the movie.
Right.
So we have to kill the brain because that's what it is. And then the guy just keeps moving and they're like, well,
that.
shit.
And he's hurt.
What do we do?
Like, the zombie's like crying out in pain. He's like, God. And I'm like, they hurt the guy. Like, what the hell happened?
I know.
I
actually felt sympathy for the girl that was on the table. The girl zombie was like, we're always in pain. We need brains to make ourselves feel better. I'm like, go ahead.
Makes sense.
Go ahead and eat those brains, girl.
It's so weird because they made these zombies personable, where they were not slow moving. They ran. They were talking with their victims.
They were coherent.
Yeah, they were very, very coherent and aware of what was going on. And this was like something that, had not been done in movies. And I think that's what made it funny, and that's what made it different.
And like I said last week, I don't really care much for the running and the zombies who have brains because of it's kind of a stretch. It totally worked for this film. I did not mind it at all. You mentioned something. It was the wrong quote, but maybe it was from the second one with the paramedic.
Well, he was correct because it was at the end of the credits where the zombie pulls out does the same skit and says, "Send more cops."
Yeah, he did that bit twice. Like,
okay.
They did the send more paramedics. And then the next paramedics come up in their little yellow slickers, and then you see all the zombies run at them. And I'm sitting there going, I'll watch 20 more minutes of them just calling more people in, be like, hey, what's going on here? And then like getting bum rushed by all these zombies. It was so funny. I
love how they set them up. I love how the zombies set up the police and everything like that. I wanted more zombies. Like, I actually felt bad for the two people, the old guy and the young dude. Nobody in this movie was annoying in any way. Like, there was no character that I was like, yeah, you deserve it. Like, even the young guy and that old guy who got the toxic fumes and eventually became. I was like, actually kind of felt sorry for him. I was like,
you feel sympathetic
yeah,
because the
I was
old
very
guy.
Sympathetic.
realizes what's happening to him. So before he could fully turn, he takes off his wedding ring and jumps inside the
like incinerator.
Yeah, he's gonna cremate himself, and you can hear him screaming. I'm like, well, that's fucked up. And then the young guy does some of the funniest things later on in the movie that made me laugh, where he's chasing his girlfriend after he's kind of turned into a living zombie. And they've bombarded them, like they've barricaded themselves either, I think, in an attic or a room. And he's banging on it. He's like, Linda, I don't know her name. She's like, hey, I love you. Oh, I just want to eat your brains. And he's like just constantly mentioning that he just wants to eat her brains. And he's like, look what you made me do. You made me hurt myself. My wrist just fell completely off. And like, you don't see it, but I'm just sitting there watching him, like imagining him hitting the doorway to get where she's at. And his arm, like his hand falls off. And he's like, put out by it, and he's just like, let me just eat your brains. I'm like, this movie's fucking fantastic. Like, the dialogue is so cheesy, but not to the point of annoyance, and it's just, it works throughout the entire thing, even to the point where toward the beginning you see like the major punk guy who's upset that his friends only call him for a ride, and he's like, you only call me when you guys want to ride, and they're all like riding in his like, old convertible, and then later on he's just like standing there upset, just looking out into the middle distance going, come on, man. Like, I don't dress like this. It's not a costume. It's a way of life. Like, he's so upset that people don't take him serious as a punk. And it's just like you said, every character has so much personality, even the littlest characters. And it's like not one of them that you want to die, but then you also want to see some shit happen to him.
Exactly. So I was cool with the paramedics getting ran over, but when those punks started dying, I was like, I actually gave a crap.
Yeah, like the first guy gets bit by Tarman when they first go in the basement, and I'm just like, oh, that sucks. There goes him.
And apparently there's like this, and I guess there's like 4 different versions of this movie, and I guess there's a television series or a television made for television version of it. And you're talking about his clothes and his punk and stuff, and the back of his jacket says "fuck off."
Yeah.
And apparently for the TV version, it says television version on the back of his jacket.
It's hilarious. Really? It is hilarious. I read that too, and I literally out loud laughed, thinking, I kind of want to see that now. I just want to see the made-for-TV version, because there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that happened with this movie. Mainly happening with the one of the actresses who played, I think her name was Trash. It was blonde, the big pink hair, which obviously was a wig. She is played by Liana Quigley, who's been in a ton of horror movies. Like, growing up through the 80s, if you've seen any horror movies where someone gets naked, it's usually her.
Yep.
It legit is her. And to the point of, in this movie, her character strips down after, prognosticating that she's about to die by people eating her. So she's like, that's the worst way to die. And then literally happens to her. She gets completely nude and starts dancing around. Well, she's built like a Barbie doll, only because she ended up showing up on set, doing this part, and either the director or the producer goes, we can't show everything. We can't show bush. So she's like, okay, fine. Goes and completely shaves down to nothing. They do the scene again. He goes, we can't show that either. What the hell is going on? I'm like, what do you want from this woman? Right. So they built some like prosthetic to kind of go over, kind of like a what do they call it? Merkin?
Like a pasty.
Yeah, and it completely smooths her out like a Barbie doll. So if if you're a prepubescent boy and want to pause that movie and go check it out, she's smooth like a Barbie doll. And it's hilarious that she had to go through all that to do this scene, and for the rest of the movie she's pretty much nude. As a zombie,
in the scene you're talking about, where she's dancing on the tomb of they're in the cemetery.
Yeah,
did that not like immediately? I thought of Ghostbusters. I was like, oh my god, she's going to summon Gozer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was like, where are you going with this? But yes, that's exactly what I thought of. When at the end she's like white.
Yeah, she's pale,
and she looks like Gozer. Right. So I thought it throughout the whole film. But yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, absolutely.
I liked how so the two idiots let go of the chemical, and it infects just them two, right? At first, and then it kind of goes into the vents and infects everything in just that building, which is perfect, self-contained, no big deal. You got medical dogs who are obviously. I read something where the prop guy built these tiny little dogs to come alive, and they're like half dogs. He didn't have the budget. He wanted to build Great Danes. And I'm like, that would have been fucking hilarious.
Wow.
So they've got things that are coming back alive in this medical supply company. You got the yellow, from
the
Sin
cadaver,
City zombie.
Yeah.
And then it would have been contained had they not chopped that guy up, gone to their little buddy, and burned his body.
Well, that's the funniest part of the
And
movie.
then the smoke goes up, starts like a acid rain, and then that's what infects everything else around it.
But
I'm
there
like,
was a
this is
phone number
fantastic.
on the side of the barrel that
There
said,
is,
if
yeah.
anything happens, call this number. And they were like, no, we can't call this number because
No,
we're going
he
to get in trouble.
he didn't wanna get
and
in
it just,
trouble.
It just elicits an entire shit show about to happen. When if they would have just called the number, it would have probably just ended.
Yeah,
because
we could
they
take
said,
2 zombies out, no big
how
deal.
How many people have been infected? Oh, only a couple. Okay, we'll come take care of this.
I
But-
know, right? Like, and that's one of my biggest movie pet peeves. Like, it's probably my biggest simple conversation, but I'm okay with it in this one.
Right.
It worked. It makes sense.
So this is such a throwaway scene, and it made me laugh that I had to pause the movie for a second. Main military guy who basically is the one waiting to get word on where these canisters disappeared to.
It's the call on the red line.
He walks excuse me. He walks over, he comes home, he pulls up to this nice house, goes in, and his wife has been slaving all day, and she's like, I've made dinner. He goes, what are we having? Lamb chops. He goes, I had that for dinner, and then dismisses her completely and walks away. It's like, what a dick. Like, it's so great. Like, I don't know why it made me laugh so hard. He's like, just dismisses it completely, and she just like looks so defeated, and that's it. Like, that's their dynamic. He's so focused on work that he can give a shit about his wife, and then you don't see them until the later part of the movie. But I don't know why I laughed at that. He's just such an asshole and so dry about it. Like, I had it for lunch, and then just walks away. I'm like, wow, what a dick. So it makes sense in that context why later on when you see him and, you know, he's taking the notes on what happened and authorizes what he authorizes, it makes sense. He's cold. He's very calculated. He just wanted to find these containers that, you know, the military lost and somehow ended up in like Lexington, Kentucky or something. And it's like, it's so random. It's
I love that they don't, and this is so military, that they don't go looking for them. Like, no one cares.
No,
Like,
fuck that shit.
Yeah, they're just like, we lost all these like buckets of zombies, and well,
it happens.
chalk that up as a loss.
Yep.
Right. Oh, no, it was
That's
great.
such a. I'm not even trying to get the thick of this, but that is such a government thing to do, and like because I was in the military and I work for the government now, and it's so on course for what they would actually do.
Where's those 4 barrels of zombies? I don't fucking know. Anyways, move on.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, well, make sure you fill out this report. All right, have a good day.
Put a number on it. We'll be all right.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that was great. And it just like how they made the rest of the zombies ended up happening with the, you know, the burning of the body, and then like I said, making the rain happen, and then it kind of soaks into the ground and it starts bringing more zombies out. I think that was great, and it just. Yeah, I can't talk about how great I like this movie.
And this movie had a lot. I mean, we grew up in the 80s, and this movie had a lot of that stuff. Yeah. This movie had a lot of that stuff
Incredible.
that was like the fearfulness of like nuclear war. It had the acid rain. It had all these things that, you know,
Punks.
you were,
The punk scene.
You were scared to death of, because in school they'd be like, you know, oh yeah, acid rain, or, you know, nuclear war. They got these nuclear bombs, and everybody was terrified of this stuff. And they kind of used all of the subject matter in this movie for that time.
And I liked how they had a very diverse grouping of people. You had, you know, the older crowd who was dealing with, you know, the business side of things, and then you had the punks. But within the punks, you had the nerdy guy who wants to get with the one chick, who I guess in real life was a stripper.
She was a stripper.
And they were like, okay, we got to get nude in this. She's like, no. So that's why the other chick got so naked all the time, because this other chick who was a stripper just didn't want to do a role where you got naked. Like, she was so tired of stripping.
So I guess O'Bannon met her at a strip club, because I guess he was kind of, from what I'm reading, he's kind of sleazy. So
Shocker.
Yeah, so he met her at the strip club and was like, "Hey, you want to be in this movie?"
Wow. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So you got that nerdy guy kind of trying to get with her, and then you've got the girlfriend of the other guy who at first you don't think is kind of a punk, but then his hat comes off and you kind of see his head's kind of shaved in a certain way. So you know he's a part of the group, but she's kind of dressed as like the prom queen, or, you know, wearing like the poodle skirt type stuff. So you've got such a weird diversity within this little group of people. I just don't know how they would have ever gotten together to hang out in real life. And it was just so cool to see all that.
Well, and part of that whole group, so I recognized one guy, and I was like, where?
black guy?
Yes. So I go, where have I seen this guy before? So I do some digging, and I was like, that's where I've seen him. He's the enchilada guy from Friday the 13th Part 5.
Yep. In fact, he got that role.
I would have never connected.
He's the
that.
same character, though. He's got the Jerry curl. He's the same exact character in Friday the 13th.
Miguel A. Nunez Jr., I
Yes.
believe is the guy's name, but he was homeless. Like this,
Wow.
the director
This was
found
his first
people
movie.
random things. Like he found the stripper at the strip club, and this guy was homeless, and he brought him on to do this part.
That's
and then
cool.
now he's gone on to do Friday the 13th Part 5. I've seen him in a few.
Because
other
he was the
things.
guy that had the upset stomach from the enchiladas, and he's sitting there and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, enchiladas!" And he gets up and he goes to blow up the toilet and gets killed. And
Of course, that's how it works. But yeah, no, like I said, this is a cast of people that you wouldn't know by name. Like if you read the cast list, you wouldn't know who these people are, but you've seen them. Like the main old guy that was showing the young guy around, I've seen that guy in a number of different things.
Right. I felt the same way.
So it's like it's one of those weird, I've seen them, but I couldn't name them kind of casts. And I think that worked well for this because it was just, you didn't have to identify with a main protagonist. You could just enjoy everybody going through their thing.
And that's what I did. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Even if you're not a cinephile, even if you're not somebody who wants to sit around and learn directors and names of everybody, you can go into this film and say, "Oh, I liked everybody in that," and I don't, it's nothing about this is offensive except for maybe the end.
That wasn't even offensive. Honestly, I loved it. That was the best way to end that movie. And it was so
it
good.
happened, and I was like, "This is what we always talk about." Where they could just end a movie with a simple push of a button,
Right.
and they did.
Yeah.
And when the ending happened, because I thought, "Oh, they're gonna do something weird," and he's like, "Nope. You know what? How far is it contained? Oh, it's only 200, 300 people. Fucking nuke them."
Well,
What did he say? He goes, it'll only kill like 4,000 people.
No, minimal casualties. It was almost right on target. We got everything. We're good.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was great because like it gets to a point where it's contained pretty much within the graveyard and the cemetery, and then it kind of expands out into the town a little bit, and you see barricades of cops. And you're like, okay, so these cops have all their guns drawn. They're going to wreck shop. This is how this movie's going to end. They're just going to lay waste to everything.
That's
no
what
big
I
deal.
thought, yeah.
Nope. They're fast moving zombies. Like some of them are a little quicker than the others, and they overrun the cops, and everything goes to shit. And I'm like, well, shit, how do they end this? And then they finally say, fuck it, we're gonna call the number on the barrel. They get a hold of the guy who doesn't want lamb chops for dinner, and he's like, okay, he's very, very methodical. He's taking notes. All right, cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna put you on hold and get you with the other guy.
Well, they
And
were
then
like,
he
"We've
calls the
been
other person.
preparing for this."
That
Right.
entire part was hilarious.
Right.
Because everyone was so stone-faced, like straight. They played the entire scene straight.
He
as an
reminded
arrow.
me of Robert Stack's character in Airplane, where he's very, very straight. Like
Yes.
he's not making jokes like everybody else in the movie. None of his lines are really inherently funny. He's the straight man. And yeah, he's taking his notes, doing his thing, and he's like, "Okay, well, we got a contingency for that." And they're like, "Okay, cool. He's got stuff for it. We're good." And then you hear very, very just as almost like a joke, and then boom, there goes Lexington, Kentucky.
You see the mushroom cloud,
Yeah.
and you see it kind of just vaporize everything. But then it leads into the part where they just did the exact same fucking thing
Exactly.
that the guys at the beginning of the movie did.
Right.
When they nuked them, the shit went into the air, it rained again, and it fucking created more zombies.
Right.
And it's great because there's a scene at the end where you see the rain soaking into the water, and then you see the zombie, the skeleton come out, and then like tilt his head forward, open his eyes, and open his mouth, and it's very jokey. They were apparently that was a fill-in effect that they were going to fix, and they never did. And it became so iconic with this movie that they left it in. And they're like, the guy was like, "Yeah, I really hated that I left that in, but I guess everyone loved it." And
Well, you could see like the
it's hilarious.
dowels in its neck, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was so blatantly a puppet,
Right.
and that's fine for this movie because, I mean, that's the vibe that this movie gives off.
Oh, it's silly as all
It's
shit.
just silly. It's a fun watch. It's, as I was saying last week, when we're talking about, is this a movie that you're going to bring to your table during a Halloween season? This movie's going to be in that
Oh, I'm gonna
pile
do that,
now,
yeah.
because it's a fun watch. And I told Aaron, and I think he misunderstood what I said. I go, "Is this a great movie? This is not a stellar movie, but it's a good enough movie that makes it fun. There's a lot of one-liners, and it's a movie that you can revisit every single time you watch it and have fun with it."
They chop up the yellow guy, bring him to the corner, and basically says, "They're rabid weasels. We need to just kill them." And the guy's like, "I'll just take him out back and shoot him right now." Why does he have a gun, for one? Maybe never mind. He's in Kentucky.
He's a mortician.
He's a mortician in Kentucky.
You
Never
need guns
mind.
for those dead people.
And he's got a gun, and they bring they chopped up the body parts, and it's just silly, and it's silly just to be silly, and it's fun, It's not an inherently scary movie.
It's definitely not scary.
But it's so good for what it is that it is definitely something I will constantly watch again.
Yeah, it's definitely going on the rotation. I actually want to watch the sequels. My biggest thing, and what you're saying is, it's not particularly good. I think it is a good movie. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is it's campiness, it's enjoyability, and these relatable characters like the tar zombie. Like I want to see that zombie just as much as I want to see the old guy putting.
I think it was
himself
for me. It was like, I think you probably compare it to other maybe bigger budget movies. I just look at this as like, you say, okay, the story is good enough. It's funny. Is it a great movie? Like where you can go, oh man, that's a masterpiece of a movie. It's probably not, but there's great things in it that you can appreciate now. And like I said, I'm not by any means saying that this is not a good movie. It's just I didn't think that, like, quality-wise, I mean, you can see the problems. You can see, like, when the guy's running around, there's obviously a decapitated zombie that's on this guy's shoulders, and it does not fit the movie. But I can throw all that away because the movie is so fun, and it's a fun watch.
But I think that sometimes when you think about old movies like this, the issues are just as iconic as the film itself.
Yeah.
Kind of like with Star Wars and the Stormtrooper running into the his head into the thing.
Wait, what?
Shut up. Stuff like that. The Wilhelm scream in Star Wars, all that stuff, or whatever it's called. I don't think it's
the
called
Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So sometimes flaws make the film better because you're like, oh, that's a flaw. It looks real good, type of thing. Jurassic Park has a ton of flaws. I think that's part of how great.
But I think
the
they
movie
were
is.
very aware of those flaws, though. I think and that's what the difference in this movie is. They were aware of those flaws. Is where sometimes flaws just happen in other movies.
Right.
I think they were just like,
fuck it, we got to move on.
Like we don't give a fuck.
They couldn't make this. I mean, this is the shark in Jaws. They couldn't get him to work. Right. It makes the movie better. Like that's what I'm saying is those flaws make the movie better. Well, that's all.
This is okay. So last week we talked about Phantasm, and for me, it
great film.
Fuck that movie.
So good.
So
Brad Johnson on Scott's Facebook agrees with me.
Brad.
Shout out, Brad.
Brad.
I don't know if his last name is Johnson.
Oh, you mean Brandon?
Brandon. Sorry, Brandon.
You're not even good enough for a shout out.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
Well, when he said that, because he recommented back like Phantasm is phenomenal, and I'm like, did he listen to the show, or did he?
I almost said, hey, go listen to the show, and you'll, no.
Yeah, you're gonna get very angry.
For me, that movie felt like a student film, and it was bad in places that was just bad. Aaron's shaking his head violently. You can probably hear the bean rattling in his head. But for me, this feels like a low-budget, high-budget movie where they had the money to do certain things and it looked good. Like when the zombies would attack people, when they would bite into people's heads, when they would do stuff. The Tar Man was such a great physical, practical
They were using
effect.
real brains.
Sheep's brains.
Sheep or cow brains or something. And I guess they paid people extra money if they would chew on the actual brains for the movie. Yeah, so they wanted them to chew on the brains to make it more realistic. So they offered them higher pay to chew on the brains.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fucking awesome.
The director was like,
"You guys
look,
really dug deep."
Oh, dude, I love this movie. I want to do everything about this movie. I want to watch the sequel, and I said, the third one I've never seen.
Maybe next Halloween we'll just do a
triple feature. We'll watch all three.
We'll watch all three. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was one of those things where I guess the director was like, I want it to look realistic, but I'm not going to make you guys do something that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. And he took a bite out of a brain himself.
Oh, wow.
So the director, put up and shut up. And then, people definitely went in.
So I pulled up some more facts.
Oh, please do.
Yes.
So
I love this movie. I'll talk about it all day.
So when he comes out, remember originally when they come out and they're sweating and they wake up from like being knocked out, and he comes out and he's like, "Oh, this place stinks so bad," and he sprays Lysol all over the place.
Yes.
Apparently, what it's saying is they had to get approval from Lysol to spray that, and Lysol was like, "Yeah, that's cool," because the idea that Lysol can kill any conceivable odor, that's a great plug for us.
Right.
Right.
Yep, that was like the one product placement. I know the chemical company Darrow was supposed to be a play on Dow Chemicals, which is, back in the 80s was definitely a huge issue with like poisoning.
So this is one that I looked at, and I didn't have time to see it, but I did notice it in the movie. So when they're sitting in the office in the desk, there's an eye test poster over his shoulder.
Yes.
And apparently the words or the letters read, "Bert is a slave driver and a cheap son of a bitch who is going bald too, ha ha."
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I read that every single time, but I didn't know what it meant.
That's what it means.
Well, no, but who's Bert?
Bert is the boss.
Oh, okay. See, I think that's just like a novelty thing.
Well, and
Right.
The two main characters are Bert and Ernie. And I
Yes,
guess
I
they
did
did
notice
that and
that.
didn't realize that they did it until after someone mentioned it to the director. He's like, oh, that's funny. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But yeah, I guess, so not to get into the sequel, but I guess the main guy who ended up killing himself in the furnace, he plays another character in the second movie that almost has kind of the same line. So to me, it feels like they did the Evil Dead route, where they did another movie, but kind of it was like the
so like
same
Phantasm
movie.
2,
Yeah,
Evil
well,
Dead.
Yeah, so they
Got
kind
it.
of like did a redo, and he played a character that did some of the same lines, like shut up, what do you want to lose your job or something like that. So they kind of do some of the same plays on things, and it's just
So think of
I
how
can't
this
wait to
movie
watch
would have
them
been
again.
different. That Bert's role was actually offered to Leslie Nielsen,
I would have.
and he turned it down because they turned him down because he wanted too much money for the role.
Oh, come on, Leslie. Then that just means that is.
Then we got Naked Gun.
that. I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying. So that means that Return of the Living Dead is supposed to be like an airplane or a spoof or whatever.
I mean, I definitely think they played on the campy, and they made something intentionally funny.
Right.
Whereas, like, some of these movies, I mean, I personally, like, we talked about, I liked Halloween Kills, but they wrote it to have funny parts because, David Gordon Green and what's his face, Danny McBride,
Right.
they have a comedy background. So they tried to inject comedy into a horror movie, and a lot of it fell flat. And it was just kind of weird, and some of it was okay, but some of it... I think this came at it was... We want to do something that's fun and funny and crazy, but it's also a zombie movie.
Yeah.
And like you said, it does tackle some of the biggest issues of the 80s with like pollution, acid rain, things like that, the military, all that stuff, Cold War. And I think it did so well in blending everything together where I don't feel like the jokes were just shoehorned in to be dumb.
I agree.
I think it was great, and like it was
But I
fun
don't
from the
mind.
beginning to the end of it.
I like slapstick stuff.
Me too.
I mean, I grew up with the police academies and like
Police
the Naked
Academy,
Guns
Naked
and things
Gun,
like that. I like
Hot
that
Shots.
stuff. Yeah, I like slapstick comedy, and this is exactly what it was. It was aware. It's a fun movie.
It is.
You don't have to, and this is where I think Phantasm went bad for me, which is not saying that it was a bad movie. But it was, I think, trying to be too horror.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is just like, fuck it. We know what we are. We know how we're going to present it.
It
and
took itself
you're just
too
gonna,
serious in the
yeah.
horror department and didn't know how to pull it off.
Man,
This
it's
one was
really
great.
weird that I do a show with two guys that are so wrong every week. So what'd you give it, Scott?
Again, this is a movie that is probably going. This is a rewatch movie for me for the October season. Am I going to watch it? If it's on TV, I'll sit and watch it. I'm pulling it out at Halloween. This is one of those movies for the horror genre. It's a 4. I give it a 4.
What about you, Jordan?
I'm gonna give it a 4. Like it's just a fun movie, and I've seen a lot of zombie movies, and like some of them do take themselves too seriously. I mean, if you go to the Romero ones, it's all political agenda, it's all about social commentary, and they're great. Even some of the worst ones are good, but for this it was just fun. Like it was a fun ride from the start of that movie to the end of that movie, and it definitely made me want to watch the sequel. And I looked into it, and like I don't think I have done as much research after a movie lately than I have with this one.
Proud of you guys for that.
So good, and I
Some
enjoyed it.
Some
Like,
of us had a show to record.
Well, sorry. I mean, I did read a little bit about it. I just didn't go I didn't go that deep.
I just
it was
look
fun.
up, like I just Google stuff and be like, hey,
so am I.
weird facts. Like,
Yeah.
give me some weird facts that I didn't, maybe not know.
I wish that movie. Honestly, the only one thing I don't like that was not as heavy into this movie was that Tarman zombie. Like, I really enjoyed his
What?
character. I wanted more of it.
Oh.
No. I hated that fucking thing. No,
I was about to fight you.
Just it was. I liked that character. Like
Yeah,
when he was chasing
he's
the
my
girl
favorite
up, he
character.
was moving a little
And
slow.
the way he said brains, I want that as my ringtone.
Yeah, like
I got another little tidbit with that part.
It's
good.
great because I'm gonna do it. I know this is an audio medium, but here we go. And he goes, brains, and he like does this neck like almost like he's like.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
It was great,
dude.
and it was. I just love that. And then they hit his head off with a baseball bat, and I'm just like, no.
Well, apparently the stuff that they used to cover him with was some kind of a thickening agent that they used
tar?
for milkshakes.
Oh.
And it's the same thing that
With
they
aliens.
used to create the Blob.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know
Oh, I love
Screw
the
you.
Blob.
And
The
your
more you
movie
know.
facts.
We love
Ding,
facts.
ding, ding.
Yeah, the more
Add
you
it
know.
in. Add it in. So I am going to go against the grain. Give it a what? No, I'm totally kidding.
Screw you, Internet.
It's not Phantasm 1.
Yeah, exactly. Phantasm, way better. No, actually, I'm on the same page as you two. This is one of my new favoriteest horror films. I absolutely love this fucking movie. I want to see the sequels. I want to view this with an audience. I want to know everything there is to know about it, and I want to show it to my kid one day. I give it a 5. It's up
That's how I
there.
was going to teach him about women.
Yeah, right.
Is this the first
Like,
5?
This was the vote.
No, I gave
I gave something else a 5.
I gave something else a 5. I can't remember.
Did you give Rumblefish a 5?
No.
No.
Oh,
I think I saw the
Hard.
devil maybe.
Oh, I think it was I Saw the Devil. Yes.
Oh, maybe.
I didn't give Hard 8 a 5. I don't think. But no, this is definitely a 5. I'm not. If I had to criticize it, it wouldn't be the movie. It'd be you, because I'm tired of you patting yourself on the back like check it out, guys. I picked this.
Well,
film.
we're not rating the people who picked
I
these
know,
things,
I know,
'cause
but that's why I gave it a 5.
It's like Bob Ross over here, man. It's called Happy Accidents.
Yeah, well, you've done it. You've fallen into shit twice.
Did it
so
again.
Good for you.
It was just on a bunch of movies that I had listed on my phone.
This is your
And
Sour
it was-
Patch Watermelon.
I just thought, I was like,
marshmallows
you know,
right now.
I got to get this movie out of the way because I've just put it off.
Honestly,
you know?
I'm glad you did. Like, I'm glad you did. Like I said, I thought I'd seen parts of this movie
And I hate
growing up, and honestly, it was part 2. And I remember, because honestly, you're going to like part 2. I think Aaron a lot more. Goes back to what we were talking about last week. The whole movie kind of revolves around these 2 kids who find
I love
one
kids.
of the canisters, and then like it's them and the sister dealing with the zombie apocalypse. So I think it's definitely geared toward the
right
younger
in
crowd.
Like Aaron's wheelhouse.
Right.
And I think that's why I
like
remember
our second
that
movie.
one. Yeah, and I saw that when I was younger, and I think that's what it was. Yeah, so his next movie is Return of the Living Dead 2.
No. I'll pick my second movie after we talk about Oculus, but I like that. And I was going back to what you were saying last week, where you were like, "Do you just like kids? You fucking."
And I wasn't trying to be an asshole about it,
I was thinking about how much more I like Pet Cemetery 2 than the first one, and that's
because
just
it was
about
fucking
2
2 kids. I'm telling you.
I know. Maybe you're onto something there. So, anyways, yeah, it's a 5. I still don't give you any credit, Scott, because you've fallen into this vat.
You know
twice.
what? I don't need your credit because I have my own feelings inside.
There you go.
But
And
this is what
inside I'm a winner.
But the last 2 movies you've picked is the exact essence of this fucking show. Movies that we should have seen 80 years ago and we
seriously.
didn't. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. And then the random generizer, the random
thing.
the whammy
drinking.
gave us Oculus. So now we can talk about that.
Hello again. You must be hungry.
Tim is a healthy adult who represents no danger to himself or anyone else, and I believe he should be discharged.
Hey, little brother. I found it.
What do you mean?
We only have a few days
A few days for what?
to keep our promise and kill it. My name is Kaylee Ann Russell. The purpose of today's experiment is to prove that the object behind me is responsible for at least 45 deaths in the 4 centuries of its recorded existence.
We got a new home, so we get new furniture.
It's a bit ostentatious, though, don't you think?
Hey, Dad, who's that lady in your office today?
What lady? We were just kids. We made up a scary story so we wouldn't have to accept the fact that our father was a sick man who killed our...
Mom?
2013, directed by Mike Flanagan, starring Carrie Gillian, who's the only notable star in this.
Nope.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The dad is Rory Cochrane, who
Yes,
was in
you're right.
Empire Records.
You're right, but I mean,
no, shut up. Everyone should have seen Empire
it's also
Records.
this is a 2014 film.
Yeah.
2014.
Oh God, has it been that long already?
Yeah.
Like I honestly like no
IMDb
joke. Feel like
has
that.
it listed as 2013.
It came out April 11th, 2014.
It probably
IMDb's
was
wrong. And then
Now
this is where I go to get my information, IMDb, and you get your shit together.
I'm just letting you know. It's on Encore East tonight at 5 p.m. if you'd like to check it out. Well, actually, it's today.
You missed it.
Today.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday. That was yesterday.
I hope you liked it yesterday at 5 o'clock.
So
who directed that movie, and where do we know him from?
Mike Flanagan directed it, and he has directed The Haunting of Hill House, most recently the
Bly Manor, and then
Midnight Mass, which I have started, and it is pretty good. I haven't gotten through it. What else has he done?
Dr. Sleep,
which I have my own set of issues with, but that might just be internal because I know everyone loves that. He directed Hush, which I actually really liked.
I loved Hush. That was a good one. Was that the one where she was like deaf?
Yes.
And like the killer comes into the house, or someone comes into the house. And,
correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely check that one out.
What else?
The synopsis of this movie is so weird.
Gerald's
Gerald's
game.
So
what is wrong with me?
A lot. That's a Stephen King story. So was Dr. Sleep. So he's definitely has a hard on for Stephen King.
Right.
I do too. That's why I like Gerald's game.
His story's not as him as a person.
No. It's younger Stephen King. I like that crazy coked up. Let's do.
You ever read it? Because I have. Okay.
Yeah, it was one of the first real thick books I ever read, and it fucked me up.
I prefer the movies over the story. The story gets, to be honest.
Oh, you didn't like the underage sex orgy?
Not even that. The fact that they go outside the universe to learn about the fucking origins of Earth in order to destroy Pennywise. It's fucking insane. He had to be like shooting up heroin.
Well, you know why? All of it ties in together. The Dark Tower ties into it. Everything ties into it. It's all just a weird, crazy world that
I get it.
He's on cocaine.
When
Maximum Overdrive is the definite.
I own that
cocaine
and
movie.
I've seen it, so calm down.
He had the money. He had the theme song ready, and
finger on the button.
No, but honestly, just for 2 seconds, I'm going to go on an it rant here. I prefer the movies over the book because the book is so batshit crazy, and like once they start having to like tell jokes in order to like take each other's tongues and put them around, I read the book right before the new movie came out, and that was the first time I had read it, and it was such a turnoff. And what I mean by that, I was disgusted by it that I was just crazy. But that's my Stephen King can't.
So yes, Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, he directed Oculus.
He does a lot of these movies. He directed Oculus.
I do have a history with this film. Me and Brian went and saw it in theaters when it came out. I do recall us hating it. Not much has changed.
Well, it's so the breakdown of the movie, and I'm going to actually change to the words because I think that my words will come across better. It says a woman tries to exonerate her brother, who is convicted of murder, by proving that the crime was committed by a mirror.
Right. What is
now? It says by a supernatural phenomenon.
Right.
It's a mirror.
Yes. So pretty much this movie starts off, and they have captured the mirror, and they have it in like a sterile room.
Which again, 5 minutes. This movie should be 5 minutes long.
I know.
Destroy the mirror. Be done with it.
No, they have to talk about it.
You can't destroy the mirror. They talked about that.
Yeah, but
the mirror will make you not destroy it.
So, and I know we're jumping ahead here a little bit.
There's not much.
She sets it up. So the mirror has a history, right? So she sets it up in this room, and she starts, I'm going to record it. We're going to summon it with the dog. We're going to, like, the plants, all this stuff. So she has to summon the thing out of the mirror. Why did she have to do that? Just fucking break the mirror when you get it.
I completely agree. They had this thing. It was almost like this mirror was keeping them hostage. She had this whole jerry-rig system.
Yeah.
Just go in, shut the door, do the jerry-rig thing.
I think she wanted to feel like she wasn't crazy and saw something in her youth that didn't exist. Yeah. And that's the essence of why she wanted to go to those links. Now, this movie, it jumps back and forth in time. So you get the past of when they were kids, and you see the parents moving into this new house. That was me. And then, it kind of goes back to, her as an adult. She got her brother out of the mental institution, and she's trying to pull him back in real quick after he's kind of just said, you know what, this never really happened. Just kidding. Fuck you. Let's go get this mirror. And it jumps back and forth so much that I almost feel like the better movie would have been watching how the family starts to go insane until the dad and the mom kill each other, fuck each other, whatever. Like that to me would have been a better movie as a whole. Just like when she's telling about all the past experiences with this mirror, a lot of those stories would have made better movies than having to watch her sit there and explain to her brother why she wants to do it for an hour and a half.
Right.
And it just...
Well, and the ending was fine. And, and again, like I said, we'll
Anchors
just jump all
away.
over. Yeah, I mean, the ending, I think, was... I don't know if
She
it
kills
was...
herself with her own trap. It was
it
stupid
wasn't,
as hell.
It wasn't necessarily like... I didn't see it coming that way, but I knew something was coming along that same lines.
When she bit into the apple/light bulb, that's when I knew shit was about to really fuck her up.
Right, and it does. That's what this movie does do well. Is it bridges what is real and what is not in this movie, because she is like, the movie and the mirror is playing the scenario and it's making them see things, and they don't know whether it's real or not. That part I did enjoy because I thought it was good in the movie, and it makes it. I think it's a lot better than a lot of other more modern horror movies. And I know we've said this till we've beat this horse with a fucking
Hereditary and Midsommar are terrible films,
and I compare it to that
the same.
just because it's I consider it in that modern. It's part of
horror.
It's part of The Conjuring. It's part of some of these like modern day movies, I just thought it was a lot better than some of those. Which it wasn't great, but.
I felt completely different because it's not psychological in any way. This is Jump Scare the Movie 2014 edition. That's all it was.
I don't even think there was jump scares though.
Yeah, there definitely was.
There was two moments where I felt uneasy, where she first sees the mirror down in the warehouse, and she's looking in the mirror, and you see 3 mannequins behind her.
Right.
And you see it kind of move, and she turns around, there's 3 mannequins behind her, and she's going toward it, and then the guy shows up and scares her. She looks back at the mirror, and there's 3 mannequins, but when she turns back, there's only 2. So I was like, oh, okay, that was going to fuck her up. But it didn't, because guess what? We don't get to see it.
It's more of that creepy, what's going to happen. And,
Nothing.
And the
Nothing
score.
happens.
The score of this movie sets the same thing, because the score is that low,
I definitely
low
went like
music.
this a few times, and I'd already seen the movie. Like when... I can't remember. I watched this on Monday. She's in her mom's room or dad's room, and... You know what I'm talking about? Somebody's chained to a bed or something like that.
The mom was chained, I think either in the bed or an attic or something like that. Because
she was chained in the bedroom.
It was right after the mom choked the younger kid,
was.
and then the dad choked her out fucking like a boss, and then dragged her ass off into somewhere, and then chained her up.
I thought something creepy was going to happen. Then nothing creepy happened. It was just weird.
It was weird. It was a lot of setup for no payoff. It was trying to make you feel like you were about to be scared, and then they let off the gas, and you're like, oh, okay, and then they do it again, and they ramp it up, and then they let off the gas, and it just it was a lot of teasing something bigger. And honestly, I almost feel like there should have been some big creature or some kind of ghost or entity. You see, a woman standing there, and her eyes are glowing, she disappears. That's the creepiest things that you'll see.
Right.
And just kind of, it feels like there was a lot of build up for no payoff.
I completely agree. I know Mike Flanagan likes to do this emotional horror and stuff like that. And the thing, and I always talk about this, and I'm going to bring it up during every time, is the internet's reaction to this film, and people generally love this movie.
It got high ratings. It's in the 70s or 80s in Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, but if you go into a horror site on Facebook, or if you go onto a Reddit or a Twitter and you talk about this film, it's beloved, and people think it's modernly scary. And once again, I hate bringing it up. People think the same thing about Hereditary and Midsommar, but I still don't put this in the same category as that. But this is a generally not good film that I've now revisited many years after I've seen it, which I honestly thought, okay, maybe I'll see, unlike Once Upon a Time with the West, maybe I'll see what I was missing in 2014, because there's only one other film I've ever done that with, and it's Mad Max Fury Road. I felt the same watching it Monday that I did 8 years ago, or whatever it is.
I did. Okay, you're gonna give me shit. I did what you did. I watched this movie. I didn't like it.
Right.
I went and read about it. Everyone's jacking it off, like you said. I'm like, what did I miss? So I viewed it first as a horror movie, and I was like, this is a terrible horror movie. And then I went back and viewed it like some guy basically said, this is a tale of two different movies. One's a horror movie. One's a psychological thriller about trauma and what you perceive to be real and what's not.
That I could see.
So I rewatched it with that mindset, and I still hated it. I didn't like it. I'm not changing my view on it. But I could see where, you want to watch something to kind of get a better view of it. And you're right. The people are loving this movie. And I kept sitting there comparing it to another horror movie that honestly I felt was scarier, even though it's a terrible horror movie, and it's Mirrors.
I love Mirrors. I fucking love that movie.
But that's what this movie felt like. It should have been in that universe. Mirrors and Oculus.
I got so excited there. I was flipping him off.
Yeah, he
I knew
was
exactly what he said he was going to say.
That's the movie. Like, I actually enjoyed Mirrors.
Yeah, I love Kiefer Sutherland. He could literally do anything, and I'd watch it. I agree. That's also a jump scare film, but
yeah. But I think it played on the the mirror being evil or something on the other side. That it played so much better than Oculus, because
I agree.
Oculus, it's like, oh look, it's a mirror.
I know.
And
people probably think we're dumb for this, but I don't care. My thing about it is like whatever you want. I'll never give you crap for that, but you're going to need to explain it to me, because me sitting here watching, this film, 8 years removed, whatever it is, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 7 years removed, and still feeling the same way I felt about it when I was sitting in the theaters watching it. I mean, that says something, because there's a lot of movies that I can revisit and say, okay, you know what? I really did not like this when I saw it, but I can find some parts enjoyable. I found Oculus to be more boring than anything.
That's my problem with it.
And not even in the sense where it's like, oh, this is so boring, it's unwatchable. It's just there. There's nothing.
It got a sequel too, didn't it?
I have no idea. Did it?
Oh, maybe it was Ouija that I'm thinking about.
You're probably right. I've never seen, and I don't know.
I don't think there's an Oculus too.
Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. Just it's a boring horror film that doesn't belong to be in anyone's list. I definitely won't be revisiting it during any Halloween. That's for sure. You rewatch Halloween Kills, right?
Twice,
and you still loved it. Okay,
I love that movie.
I know
problems.
We're about a week removed. I heard a lot of things. We'll get into that in a second. Let's give our reviews for Oculus. I want to touch up on that, and then we'll kind of give you a breakdown of what's going to go on. So, what did you give it, Scott? What did you think about Oculus?
It was, for me, kind of standard kind of road. Like I said, I kind of the same thing with Jordan. Took it as like this. Okay, this is going to be like a horror movie, and it really kind of wasn't. It was more, like I said, more of a thriller type movie.
Right.
It was okay. I mean, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't a movie that I loved. It's 2.5. I guess,
So the biggest thing I love about this film is the fact that it made me go back and watch it, made me revisit something I didn't like. But I like the fact that I still did not like it. It's a 1 for me, and the only reason it's a 1 is because I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I'll never watch it again. I've seen it twice now. I know I don't like it. 7 years removed, and I still don't like it. I don't think in 7 more years I'm gonna all of a sudden magically like it. I like Karen Gillian. Even when she has a ton of makeup on and she's in Infinity War or Doctor Who. I loved her in Doctor Who. But as far as this movie goes, it's just not for me. I like Mike Flanagan. I like the stuff he tries to do. The reason I don't like Dr. Sleep, and Dr. Sleep is another film that the internet goes around and high fives itself about. But unfortunately, compared to the source material, it is way below average. And but like I said, I do actually like Mike Flanagan. I think he has potential. Who am I? I'm a fucking podcaster in a closet. You have potential, Mike Flanagan. But
once you got it, Mike, you'll get it.
I think
one day you'll be there, kid.
One day I'll like one of his films. But so far, I'm in his corner. I just don't like what he produces. So it's a 1 for me.
For me, it's a 1.5. I feel it's a watchable movie if you're not like me and like the slasher films, the horror, the guts, the gore, the craziness. I need a monster. I need something driving this movie. And people who loved Bly Manor, people who loved what was it, the Hill House, things like that, they're gonna like this movie.
Yeah, I think that's where I was kind of coming from.
Yeah, and that's I think that's his game. Like, I think that's it, and I think he does better in long form when he can tell a longer story.
I liked Hill House, but I didn't like Bly Manor.
Right. Well, he I believe is a better director when he's a long form.
Yeah.
So he can do 8 episodes, build tension, really flesh out a story, and do it. When he's confined to an hour and a half movie, you're not going to get anything good out of it. And I enjoyed, like you said, I like Dr. Sleep, but I think a lot of it, some of it was performance based. I loved.
My problem was I read the book literally a week before the movie came out, and I was so in love with it because Stephen King does such a good job of showing this guy at his absolute rock bottom. He intertwines the story so well that it's like at the end, you're like, it's satisfying. My problem with Dr. Sleep is you did not get that same thing. It was more like, hey, you remember the hotel?
Yeah, remember the
here
Shining?
It is.
Here's the Shining.
Here's a guy that's a really crappy copy of Jack Nicholson. It's actually terrible. So here he is. Do you like that? Look, guys.
You know, that guy who played that character was the kid that was in E.T.
Yes, I did know that.
And I'm like, holy shit. So it's just like last week with Halloween, we were trying to figure out the Dr. Loomis.
Yes.
It was someone who worked on the movie that had a general resemblance to Donald Pleasance, and they did very little makeup, and that was it.
What is
little prosthetics?
Yes, prosthetics.
Yeah, they did very little to add to it, but he looked just like Donald Pleasance. I kept thinking they had found old footage, or they doctored something up, or they did some CGI. Nope, it was a guy. So yeah, no, that was weird.
So yeah, like I said, I wanted to circle back to Halloween Kills. I know we talked about it in long form. We're about a week removed. I did rewatch it as well this week. I still love it. I haven't changed my mind. I think it's great. I have yet to hear a valid criticism about it, and I would honestly like one. I can understand not liking the ending, but saying that the entire film is bad because of an ending is a cop-out. I also understand that the middle of this movie is Evil dies tonight at a hospital for at least 12 minutes, and it sucks. It does, but I still think on the grand scale of things, this is not a perfect, but it is a good filler sequel to get to the end, like a road you have to go through, almost as if you were doing a TV series or something, and you were ramping up to get to the finale of that.
This is the penultimate episode. This is okay.
I would like, if you are out there, please email us and let us know, because I need a valid criticism, because I have heard a lot of people I actually respect, other podcasts, people on Letterboxd, what's it called? The reviewers I actually follow have crapped on this thing, but I have yet to see why. They're just like, this is bad. It reminds me of Jason Voorhees. It reminds me of this. But nothing there is like, this is why it's a bad movie. The only tonal thing that I have noticed about it is that it's mean. The murders in it are mean. It's just, it comes from a place of like, this guy is very angry, and you should be angry about it as well.
He just wanted to look out a window, and people fucked with that.
And the kills are brutal, and it's just Michael Myers being mean instead of being this like he's this unstoppable force that's just killing to get to a ending. He's just murdering viciously to be mean. So that's all I want. I want a valid criticism of why you didn't like it. If you didn't like it just because, I'm okay with that. But if you're going to sit there and be like, nope, it's not good, and I'm not following the masses, you're the one that's wrong. Gonna need something. Please let me know. So that's all I wanted to say.
This is how I look at this movie, and the more I think about it, the more I think they did a very excellent job of what I'm about to talk about. So this movie, on the surface level, is a slasher movie. It's a horror movie. It's whatever. It's not even scary. It's just brutal to be brutal. Great. Below the surface, it is a great character study on victimization, victim versus victimizer.
Right.
Laurie Strode has spent 40 years. These people have spent 40 years lamenting the fate that they had 40 years ago, the shit that they had to deal with on that one night, all the crap that they dealt with, and it fucked them up for the rest of their lives.
Right.
Michael Myers didn't care one fucking bit about any of them, to the point where the daughter and Laurie Strode were sitting there going, he's coming after me. He's going to come get me. And the sheriff had to tell him, no, he's not. He's not coming after you. He doesn't fucking care who you are. You mean nothing to him. So for 40 years, he's been in an institution not knowing who the fuck he attacked that night. He doesn't give a shit. And they have spent 40 years. It fucked her whole life up. It changed her into a recluse. All her relationships failed. She has estrangement with her daughter. She built a fucking bunker for this one time that this guy is going to come back and get her. The only reason he was at her house is because the doctor fucking brought him. Right. He would have never found her house. He would have never cared. And
I completely agree.
It's such a great way to look at it, where it's like
it's consumed her. He doesn't care.
It consumed a lot of people. Yeah. Like that's the whole reason they get together on Halloween, is to celebrate. We defeated evil. He didn't fucking care about any of you people. You were in the way.
Right.
You were an obstacle. He went through you. He was trying to get home to look out his window.
In the first one, the the bus crash, and that's how he escaped.
The
right?
first one, it was the bus crash, but it was the doctor that set it up. The doctor wanted this shit to happen. If you didn't want this shit to happen, you don't transfer Mike Myers on fucking Halloween. Like, don't transfer him the day before Halloween. This was all set up by the doctor who went crazy trying to understand what happened. He was trying to find meaning in why Michael Myers did what he did. There's none. He's the shark.
Yeah,
it's a predatory thing. And he didn't care about Laurie. He didn't care about anybody in this movie. He doesn't care one person from the other. He'll kill the gay couple. He'll kill the black couple. He'll kill white people. He doesn't fucking care. And these people went 40 years with their lives completely shattered.
The internet cares.
Yeah.
The internet super cares.
I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a great way to look at how a victim perceives incidents versus what the victimizer
Like,
does.
this movie's trash.
Right.
You want to see a good movie? Oculus.
Right. That's exactly how the internet is.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with
it's just such a great way to look at that movie.
Right.
And that's why I personally like this movie. I've done victimology classes. You know, a lot of my degree is in all that shit. And it's just, it's such a nice... I went to college. No, it's just, it's such a great way. Your mom goes,
now you're doing a podcast in a closet with 3 dudes.
like Doyle rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just...
I'm good in that degree, did you?
Damn it, I've done nothing with my life talking about Halloween Kills. No, I just, to look at it that way, it's such a great, because like I said, the second Laurie finds out that he didn't care, it almost destroys her whole livelihood for 40 years.
Right. And
like, I've done nothing. I could have lived a life and I didn't. And now you fucked it up. And now I have to kill this thing because he fucked my life up.
Yeah. So it's pretty much...
It's great. I loved it.
So I'm wondering how the third one's going to go down because,
it's supposed to take place 4 years later.
Yes. Yeah. So, but what's he up to? You know, what's
looking out
Meyer?
the window? It's just a fucking cup of
Everyone's
coffee in the morning, just looking out with his white mask.
There's hundreds of people just chilling outside of his house right now.
No one knows what he looks like under the mask, except all the people he murdered in the street.
Yeah. What does he do the other 12, 11 and a half months out of the year?
Scott using a joke from the internet.
No, he's like hanging out, just
he's celebrating Christmas,
drinking
like,
coffee.
Well, wait till next Halloween before I start doing my tangents again.
All right, guys. So we have one more episode for you in October. The veil will come off. Me and Scott will be in New Orleans celebrating Halloween. But we have a show for you guys next week. It's our top 5, and we are very, very excited to do this one. I'm excited. I love doing shows like this, talk about it, argue. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you're following us at watchitlaterpod.com, all the iTunes.
You got it right.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, dude, I told you yesterday.
You didn't have to edit this one in there.
Told you last week I was just out of it.
Told you 6 weeks later I was going to memorize our website.
Watchitlaterpod.com, Instagram, Twitter. Go ahead and follow us. Send us a message, whatever it is you want to do.
And there is an email address on the website. You can click in and send an email. So if you
cool.
do want to reach out to Aaron and bitch about Oculus,
yeah,
or
we'll
else,
talk, dude. And I will, I will take all of your criticism
and yell at you on the internet.
No,
but not on Facebook. He's been banned.
Only for another 5 days.
Well, interact with us. You know, I mean, I know Jordan posts a lot of stuff, does a lot of our social media. You know, you can go to our website, leave comments. I mean, rate the show. Give us fucking 1 star. Who gives a shit? You know, just rate it. Interact with us, man. We'll respond to this stuff. Man.
Absolutely.
If you want to tell us that we're asshole idiots because we didn't like Phantasm, call us out, man. We'll respond. We'll
or I'll do you one better. You can be on the show. We will pipe you in. I don't care. I will give you my personal cell phone number. And it's not that we're hurting for content. I just love the conversation. So, all right, guys. So this is how it's going to work. Next week you're getting your top 5. The week after that you're going to get your snack show, and we are really excited to bring your snack show. We were actually going to
be a good one.
We were actually going to give you a snack show next week, but I really want to see what we can find in Louisiana and bring it back. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Next week's show, I think I'm going to pull something back, and I'm going to give them a little snippet of what we might have coming in, because I got some big shit coming, man.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
Usually after the snacks.
Gross. Scott and I are going to go check out Dune today. I am going to see the French Dispatch tonight, so we'll talk about that a little bit on the snack show. And we'll bring you all your snack news. We'll bring back Blu-ray releases, all that good stuff. So, without further ado, my pick, which you will have almost 3 weeks to watch. Well, 4 weeks maybe.
I'll still watch it the day before we record the show.
Friday before that. So.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll forget. I'll have to ask him what we were watching.
You do that anyways, even. It is the 1998 comedy crime movie starring Steve Zahn and Sam Rockwell called Safe Men. It's directed by John Hamburg.
Sam and Eddie have come to a critical point in their musical career.
We gonna get it on. We're gonna turn this brother out. Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, put your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. Let me hear you say, oh, oh, all right.
But now,
You cracked this guy's safe and you made $36,000.
their new career choice isn't very sound.
It's wide open. It's open?
And it certainly isn't safe.
You want to know who I work for?
Me.
You're big fat Bernie Gale.
Really prefer people not use the fat part.
Terrible things start to happen.
Do you think you can take from big fat Bernie Gale?
He's good!
I'm gonna give the two of you 1 week to crack 3 safes. Because if you don't, I'm gonna kill the both of you.
Now, they've got to get cracking. 3 safes. 2 losers.
Did you think this was a positive career move?
1 week.
If you don't crack the safes, I'm gonna saw both your legs off. Then I'm gonna beat you over the head with the stumps.
No chance.
Let's go.
You guys are breaking into my dad's safe.
There's no way that you could just give us the combination. Apricot or raspberry? This man is in the mafia, Sam. He's not going to let us off the hook because we send him a basket of sundry goods. He's in the Jewish mafia. I'm sure that's much more like a club.
October Films presents a comedy.
I once sold a woman a pair of exploding slacks.
About 2 guys who are so incompetent, it's a crime.
I've never even heard of this film, but it was suggested to me, and I told that guy I'll watch it later.
I like Steve Zahn. I've never heard of it.
I know. I love Sam Rockwell. I love Steve Zahn.
There's another Steve Zahn movie that it kind of vaguely reminds me about these 2 guys who I guess were bank robbers that end up in Texas.
Oh, Happy Texas.
Happy Texas.
Yes.
So that's another, like, when you pick this movie, that's what it kind of reminded me of. I'm sitting there going, are we watching Happy Texas? Did they?
I love
like,
Happy
is it one of those
Texas.
movies that they titled it different than what I saw it as on video or something like that? So, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I like Steve Zahn.
Same. He doesn't have the greatest track record, but he directed Along Came Polly, which I like.
We got Saving Silverman out of Steve Zahn, man.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the director of the movie we're about to watch did Along Came Polly. He did I Love You, Man. He did a few episodes of The New Girl, Why Him, which was a terrible comedy. But so we're either going to get the Along Came Polly version or we're going to get the Why Him version.
Crossing fingers.
But I love Steve Zahn. I love Sam Rockwell. I was trying to find something none of us had seen because I have some picks where at least one of us had seen some stuff, and we'll get to that. But all right, guys. So next week is our top 5, and thank you so much for listening. I'm Aaron.
I'm Jordan.
And Scott.
And this is I'll Watch It Later podcast. We'll see you guys next week.